All right. Amy, take it away.
Well, hi, this is Suzanne Brooks, the Director of Meetings and Conventions for the High Dental Association, and Amy Semania, our manager of the exhibit hall, is with me. We welcome you. As Jefferson said, you are important to us, and we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. We're excited about the show that we're putting together. We really are excited about your participation. Please know that we are always here for you. So as the seminar ends, if you have any recommendations or questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We do have a great convention planned this year, and most of it is all focusing around the exhibit floor. We are registering. We're about 2 weeks away, almost 3 weeks away from our pre-reg deadline. And we are already in advance of where we were at this time, this many days out from our show last year. We have about 2/3 of the people already registered. So we're excited. We're looking forward to it. We stand here to help you have a great show. And we really appreciate our partnership with Jefferson. Jefferson, thank you for continuing to be with us. And the hour is yours, sir.
All right. Thank you, Suzanne, Amy, and again, all of you who have taken time to log in today live with us. We got some good news for you. Because you logged in live, we are going to raffle away a free lead retrieval system to somebody on this webinar right now. It's a $290 value. And because you invested time, we want to throw a little extra your way. So watch your email. We'll let you know who won that shortly. Okay, so today's subject matter, we are sitting here 2 months, almost exactly 2 months. Today's 24th, September 25th. We will be opening the doors in Columbus. And we're going to hit two topics here that I think are timely, relevant, and important for every exhibitor. We're going to talk a little bit about cost control. We know, all of us know in the exhibiting, and for that matter in life, right? It seems like everything has gone up. So we're going to go kind of inside the numbers and give you some ideas to stretch and save the dollar and get better control of it. Part one. And part two, we're going to hit a really big issue, which is how to help your booth staff avoid making the mistakes that too many booth staffers make that end up blocking and limiting your ability to get ROI. So you've probably seen me around, been around trade shows longer than I care to admit, over 30 years. I am super process-based. I'm results-focused. I've never viewed a trade show as a place to show up, fly the company flag, hand out samples or tchotchkes and go home. I've always viewed it as a place where I had to make $1 do the work of 10. Right? And with the work I've done, my training consulting with my direct exhibiting clients that I know of, we've been able to pull combined over $800 million in trade show results. If there's one thing I know that trade shows work if you see them and you execute them properly. So if you have questions beyond this webinar today, you can reach me on the Exhibitor Success and ROI Center, or you can email me direct. Speaking of the Exhibitor Success and ROI Center, hopefully you have bookmarked this. Hopefully you have downloaded the assets, and hopefully you are referring back, because there's over $10,000 of proven effective trade show productivity resources. And we've been building it out year over year, adding more content. And that's why we reorganized it into our 5-step consumption plan. Get control of your program with the tools. I'm going to show you the cost control tool today. Plan to win. I've got 5 strategic planning exercises that are the big rocks. You know, the 80-20, the 20% of activities that generate 80% of the value from your exhibit program. I would encourage you to download. These are PDFs and do the exercises. Put in the work. I can tell you this for sure. You will get out of the ODA meeting what you put into it. And the more work you put in it up front, the better foundation that you lay, the better the results you are going to get. These webinars like this, we're recording this today. We've got a series of topical webinars up there. We've got articles broken down by exhibiting area. And at any time on your journey, right, you got questions. There's a Ask the Trade Show Expert Q&A. Click a button, come straight to me. I'm here for you. All right, Amy's here for you. Suzanne's here for you. We all want one thing. We want you to have an incredible experience. We want you to walk off that show floor and a month or two after the show, look back and go, what a difference a well-executed show can make. I know firsthand what a difference they can make, and I want you to have the same experience. So, but you got to put in the work, and this is your home base right here. Okay, so let's jump in. Let's talk a little bit about how do you know if your exhibit program is working, right? What should it be delivering for your company? There are two high-level outcomes that a well-executed exhibiting program should deliver. Number one, it should visibly and directly support your company's core business objectives, okay? And there are three major areas that trade shows directly influence: sales, marketing, customer relationship management. Those are the big three, okay? The second thing that your exhibit program should be delivering is value beyond cost, measurable value beyond cost. So when you think about your exhibit program now, okay, if you had to answer on a 1 to 10, 10, you're knocking it out of the park on these two areas. A 1, you didn't even walk into the park, right? How would you score how well your exhibit program is delivering? Go ahead right now. If you would go to your question tab and just type in the two numbers, type like 3 and 6 or 4 and 8 or 5 and 9 or whatever it might be. I'd like you to kind of ask yourself, how well do you feel your exhibit program is delivering? This is confidential for my eyes only, but go ahead and do that, because here's the thing, right? If you want to make improvements in your program, you're going to have to acknowledge where your gaps are, where your areas for improvement are. And that's what we've been trying to do over the years with all this content we're providing you, is guide you on how to do that, okay? So let's talk about goals. Take a look on the screen here right now, and I'm going to put you on assignment here because this is a working webinar. I'd already asked you to score yourself on a 1 to 10. So this is from the Center for Exhibition Industry Research. And this gives you a really good laundry list of the primary reasons and objectives that exhibitors, why companies exhibit at trade shows, okay? And you look at the top of the list right there, 95%. Identify new customers and sales leads, number 1. A close second, building product, brand, or company awareness. And right under that, meeting with existing customers, top 3. Now you'll see there's a lot of other objectives here, okay? And remember I told you a moment ago, I said the 3 big value areas: sales, marketing, customer relationship management. Look at the top 3 objectives up there. Leads, that's the sales. Awareness, that's marketing. Meeting with customers, that's customer relationship management. So what I want you to do is identify what are your top 3 reasons or objectives. Why are you exhibiting at the ODA annual session, okay? Now, this is not in your workbook, so listen closely. These are reasons. Get some leads, increase our awareness, meet with customers, but they're not goals, okay? So write this down. Reasons are not enough. It's fine to have reasons, but unless you convert them to goals, outcomes, and you create an action plan, how are we going to do that? What has to happen between now and showtime to make this happen? And you communicate it to everybody on your team, and you execute it, and you measure back to it. That process is called exhibiting by objectives. Reasons to goals, goals to plans, communicated, executed, measured back to. Would you believe that on average in North America, only 1 out of 4 companies, 1 out of 4 companies have clearly defined outcomes backed up with written action plans? You want to put yourself in the top 25% of exhibitors at every show you do? I just gave you the path. Okay. So why are you exhibiting? Define it. Here's the question you want to ask. When the doors close, 90, 180 days after the ODA annual session, how will we know we succeeded in the area of sales? How will we know we succeeded in the area of marketing? How will we know we succeeded in the area of customer relationship management? Let me flip my camera up too. I apologize, I didn't have that on. Hey, everybody. So those are the big three. The clarity is power. Knowing your outcomes is power. Okay. I want you to never go into another show again without at least 3 clearly defined outcomes, and reverse engineer your outcomes through planning and execution. Okay. This will put you again in the top 25% of exhibitors. Okay. So let's talk about money here, right? We're going to talk about cost control. We're going to talk about budgeting here. Okay. So write this down. It's not in your workbook, but write this down. The average company in North America spends 41% of their annual marketing budget goes to exhibit and event marketing. It is the lion's share of the marketing spend. A little over 4 out of every $10 goes to exhibit and event marketing. It's good to know. It's a benchmark, right? So the question is, how much should you budget on an individual show? That's what I want to answer right now. So you want to apply the budgeting rule of thumb. So whatever the floor space cost is, as a starting point, multiply it by 3. Okay. So if you're $2,000 into your space, your starting point budget is $6,000. Now I'm going to show you where that dollar goes in a moment. Okay. But ideally, floor space times 5. And why do I say 5? So you have the resources to do what the average and the unsuccessful exhibitor is not doing. Okay. So I always lean floor space times 3 as a starting point, and then I'll typically want to ratchet it up to floor space times 5. Okay. I'm going to show you that tool in a moment. I want you to track where your dollar goes by major spend area, and I want you to benchmark it to the averages. And the tool is on the Success and ROI Center. It's under step 1, get control, exhibit, cost control tool. Okay. Now there are 3 areas. When you look at where the dollar goes in a moment, there are 3 areas that I call the leverage points in the budget, that if you can find a little more money and you'll invest it in these 3 areas, it'll slant the exhibit floor your way, right? Number 1 is what you do to promote before and during the show. You give people a reason to come to the show and a reason to come see you. There are hundreds of exhibitors at the ODA annual session, and here's the thing. There's no dental professional that's going to visit every exhibitor in the show. Okay. In fact, you may want to write this down. The average attendee stops at 26 booths during their time at a show. 26. Okay. And listen to this. Half of those 26 stops are pre-planned. Okay, so if you can invest more time and resources in what you do to promote your participation in the event before you get to the venue and during, you'll drive more traffic to your booth. And by the way, listen to this one. 80% of exhibitors, 8 out of 10, do little or no targeted, well-designed pre-expo marketing. Want to find out how to win the game? Find out what the people struggling are doing, and don't do that. Only 1 out of 4 exhibitors has defined outcomes and action plans. Only 2 out of 10 exhibitors is executing a well-designed pre and at show marketing campaign. Want to win the game? It's not that hard. Get over on the side of the people doing that. The second area is the visitor experience. The visitor experience is going to come down to your booth and your product or service demonstration or presentation. This is an area that you want to invest more into because it's why the attendees come to the show and it's why they come into the exhibit hall. And the third area is training your booth staff. Now, I got some great news for you on that one. I'm going to take you inside of the same type of content when companies pay me $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to come and train their exhibit staff. I'm going to give you some of the same content right here today for free. Okay, so make sure you stay with me through the end. Zero-based budgeting. Okay, so you're going to want to look at all these areas where the dollar goes, and you're going to look at each line item, and you're going to ask yourself, is this really necessary? Right? Is this absolutely necessary? And is there a way that I might be able to do this at a lower cost and get the same or higher value? Okay, and I'll give you a couple examples in a moment of that. All right. Caveat, warning, be careful about cutting costs in areas that are customer facing. You never want to give your customers and the dental community the impression that you're in trouble or you're struggling, right? So when you look at making a cut, ask yourself, is this customer facing and could it have any kickback or whiplash effect in the market? And if it does, don't do it, okay? So where does the dollar go? There you go. So let's talk about this. You'll notice that the lion's share of the spend goes to floor space. That's the number one area, about 35%. Remember I said floor space times 3 to 5? There you go. The physical exhibit, your property, and the design and everything else, 20% is the second area. Next, travel and lodging, air, hotel, ground transportation, meals. Now, the cool thing about the ODA show being a state or a regional show, for many of you, maybe you're not flying in, right? Maybe you're in the Columbus area, right? So you can save money there. The next area is show services, everything that's in the exhibitor service kit, in the exhibitor service portal, electrical, carpet, furnishing, drayage, labor, all of that, right? Plumbing if you're running live demos. Shipping, transportation, the cost to get your exhibit to the convention center, into your booth, out of the convention center, and back to your office or your storage, 9%, okay? And that other basket up on the top, staff training, lead management, and all the other miscellaneous stuff, 7%, okay? So the question that you should be asking is, not knowing that these are the averages, where's your dollar going, right? What percentage of your exhibit dollar is going to these areas? Remember the 3 leverage areas I talked about: your exhibit, what you do to promote, and staff training, lead management, right? If you can invest a little more in these 3 areas, okay, it'll make all the difference in the world in your results. So, got a super cool tool for you. Check this out here. It is on the ODA Exhibitor Success Center under the Get Control, step 1. Check it out. It's got line items, right? It's a completely built budget. It's a spreadsheet, completely customizable. Download it, you own it, it's yours. Your budget, your actual, your over, your under, if you're tracking year over year, and it will create, remember that pie chart I just showed you here? It'll automatically create a chart, your chart, when you plug in your numbers. It'll automatically create the chart for you. That's cool, right? So now you can look at where the average dollar goes. You can look at your chart, and there's going to be differences. Listen carefully. If you're over or under the average, it doesn't mean that you're wrong, but it does mean that you want to take a closer look, right? And you want to ask yourself, does that make sense? Is it right for us to be that far over, that far under? Because the numbers tell the story, right? The numbers tell the story. Now, there's another super cool thing in here. Look at the bottom. See the tab down here, cost reduction tips? I've identified 59 ways that you can stretch and save money. And I've organized them by the major spend areas. So here's my assignment for you, if you haven't done so yet. get over on the Success and ROI Center, download the cost control tool, start plugging in your numbers for the upcoming show, go through the list of the 59 areas and try to pick at least one or two in each area and watch how much money you can save. We could be talking $2,000, $5,000, I don't know, $10,000 or more, right? Okay, so here's, this is in your workbook, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I got a lot to talk about your booth staff here. Staffing, exhibit, graphics, show services, promotions. This is just a sampling of what is in the tool. There are 59 different ways you can stretch and save the dollar. Okay, so be sure to grab the tool. Any questions before I move into booth staffing and helping your staff avoid the mistakes? Go to the tab right now. You'll see the tab says questions and type in your question. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad question, right? Except the one that you need to ask, you want to ask, but you don't ask, okay? I don't see any questions coming in. So hopefully you have a few. Remember, the more questions you ask, the more we'll all get out of the webinar. All right, top 10. Remember David Letterman used to do his top 10 list? That's what I'm gonna do here right now. We're gonna count down the top 10 mistakes that booth staffers make that limit booth traffic, limit the quality of the interaction, limit the quality of the leads, and might ultimately block your ability to get ROI. Number one, top of the list, not recognizing that the environment is different. You're standing in a booth trying to interact with dental professionals. It is very different than what happens in the day-to-day. The fix, recognize how it's different and plan to adapt. So what are the barriers? How is the environment different? Number one, you got a lot of different types of people that are coming into your booth, right? You got customers, you got prospects, you got, maybe there's vendors that are trying to sell you something. Maybe there's students, dental students. Maybe there's retired dental professionals who are just coming out because they've always come to the show. And so your ability to quickly determine what type of visitor you're with and what to do with them is critical. Next, short interaction time. How long is the average interaction in a booth? 3 to 7 minutes. It's not a lot of time, right? 3 to 7 minutes. Next, physical and mental fatigue on your staff's part and on the visitor's part, okay? As a general rule, the later in the day and the later in the show, the more physical and mental fatigue is on both parts. And we need to have ways to counter this, right? Next, information overload. This is a really big problem at shows, right? I want you to assume that every dental professional that walks into your booth just came out of a very intense session. They visited 5 other booths. There's a problem back at the practice that they're having to deal with on their cell phone. Their brains are completely at the point of information overload. There's some things that you got to do to create space so they can take in your messaging and your content. And finally, high competitive presence. Everything you show, tell, say, and do will be carefully weighed to what your competitors are showing, telling, saying, and doing. Okay, so these are very real barriers. And I'm telling you, if your booth staff is not aware of these and does not have strategies to counter these, they are going to make behavioral and communication errors. And here's the crazy thing. They're not even going to be aware that they're making many of these, okay? So let's make sure everybody understands the environment's different. We need to adapt. Number 2, every game has rules. Play by the rules, chances of winning go up. Break the rules, chances of losing go up. Got to know the rules, okay? So here are some of the do's. Comply with the rules. Make sure there's always somebody in your booth. Make sure you have enough staff. Make sure when you're in that booth, you're looking and acting like you want to be there. You're not sitting down behind a table with cell phone in one hand and a Starbucks in the other, right? Looking like you'd rather be anywhere but here, right? Stand up in the booth. It's okay to have chairs in your booth, right? but don't be sitting in a chair all the time. Stand up, look like you're here to talk to people, okay? Open body posture, right? Engage all booth visitors. You'd be amazed when we're doing our exhibit evaluations, how many times I'm standing there evaluating the booth. I see a guy in the booth or a gal sitting down behind the table working on a computer, doing something. I see an attendee walk up, look at their product services. I see the person look up at them, look back down and keep going. Hey, don't blame the show if you're doing that, okay? But you'd be amazed how often I see that. Quick response, responsiveness is king. Half of the battle of staying toe-to-toe, talking to people the entire show is just looking like you want to in a non-aggressive manner. Stand up, put a smile on your face, make eye contact, and greet people as they come near your booth, as they pass your booth. If you have a medium or a larger booth, make sure all the areas of your booth are covered. And it's not what you tell, it's what you ask. I'll talk more about that. Things to avoid. Let's talk about these, the rules. Don't prejudge anybody. Don't judge people by age. Don't judge them by gender. Don't judge them by physical dress or appearance. And especially listen closely here, dental industry. I have been around this industry for a long, long time. Do not underestimate the influence of dental assistants, hygienists, and practice managers, right? I was with a company back in the early 90s that brought the intraoral camera into the dental market. And when I met this company, they were making that mistake. When we finally realized that the hygienists and the assistants had influence, we started really paying special attention to them. We would have them during shows literally go get the dentist and bring him or her back to the booth to check out our intraoral cameras. And back then we were selling $1 million, $1.5 million. I'm talking writing orders on, not handing things, but writing orders on the show floor. Arrive late, leave early. Look like you don't want to be here, right? Let people enter and exit. Every single visitor that steps into your space you paid for. Nobody should enter your booth unengaged and exit unengaged. Passive, just hanging back, right? On the cell phone, talking on the phone in the booth, texting on the phone in the booth. Hanging with a gang. You got 2 or 3 or 4 people in your booth. You're all wearing the same color shirts. You're hanging, you're clustered. I look in the booth, I see the 4 red shirts, 4 blue shirts. Looks like a gang. It's intimidating to walk up to that. Eating, drinking, chewing gum in the booth, all these things. On the left, do this. On the right, don't do that. Those are the rules of the game. How many of these rules get broken by your staff? I will tell you this. Here's the problem with these don't do's. The attendees walking down the aisle, they glance toward a booth. They see 1 or more of these behaviors. They look away. They're gone. They're probably not going to pass your booth again during the entire show. You might only get 1 pass. You've got to make that strong first impression. Okay, number 3, make the human bond before you go for the business bond. Okay. I don't know if you've ever walked a show floor with an attendee's badge on, but if you haven't, you should. It's intimidating, right? I've done panel discussions. In fact, years back, I did one at ODA where we had dentists on a panel. We did a live session at ODA where we had dentists on dental professionals on a panel, and we were asking them questions. What does it feel like when you're walking up and down the aisles? And it's intimidating, right? I feel like everybody wants to throw their hooks in them, right? So making the human bond, here's a 4-step when someone enters your booth, right? So walking the exhibit hall can be overwhelming and it can be intimidating. Big mistake, huge mistake that people make, right? Reading the person's name off the badge if you don't know the person, right? So question, you start calling someone by their name, you've never met them before, you're reading their name off the badge. What are you assuming? What are you assuming? Well, first of all, you're assuming that it's their name, right? Sometimes badges get mixed up? They could be wearing sometimes with me, they'll transpose my first and my last name. The big one will go Davis, and my first name's Jefferson. You go, hey, Davis, how you doing there? You've lost me, right? You want to know what you're really assuming? when you call someone by their name, having never formally introduced? A relationship that does not yet exist. I think it was Dale Carnegie who said it best. He said, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. Make the human bond. So introduce yourself always. Hey, my name's Jefferson, and you are. Give them the space to introduce themselves. So there's 4 things when a person enters your space. Greet them like you're glad to see them. Hi, how you doing? Good morning, good afternoon. I've seen exhibitors open conversations in a booth. A person walks in a booth. Listen to this opening line. Oh man, are your feet as sore as mine? What? No, greet the person like you're glad to see them. Welcome them, verbally welcome them with your, hey, welcome to Competitive Edge. Meet the person. I'm Jefferson and you are. Notice what I do with my hands here. I'm Jefferson and you are. Notice I didn't force the handshake, but I did lead the behavior. And ask a discovery question. There are 2 discovery questions when a person walks into your booth. What brings you by? I noticed you were looking at our intraoral camera. Tell me a little about your interest. They're both open-ended questions that get the visitor talking about themselves and why they're here. What brings you by? I noticed you were looking at. Tell me a little bit about your interest. Did you notice the tone of my questions too, how I really soften those tones? Exactly, right? Mistake number 4, write this down. It's not what you tell, it's what you ask, right? And he or she who asks the questions not only guides, but controls the conversation while giving the visitor the illusion that they are controlling the conversation. Why? Because they're doing all the talking, right? And when you get into questioning mode, don't interrogate, communicate, right? So some keys to effective questioning, you got to know them in advance. Order them into the natural flow of conversation. Lean toward open-ended questions that get the visitor talking about themselves. Soften your tone. Don't come across as an interrogator or a detective. And here's a little fun technique to play with. When you're communicating in body language, do not be squared up shoulder to shoulder when you're asking questions. Angle your body position, okay? Fun stuff to focus on while you're in the booth, okay? Use their name, maybe on one of your front end questions and one of your back end questions, okay? So front end questions, seek to understand, then to be understood. That comes straight out of Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. So what would be some questions? Hey, what brought you to the meeting? What were you hoping to accomplish at the meeting? How did you hear about our exhibit? How did you learn about our exhibit? What brought you? You know, what were you hoping to accomplish by visiting? What do you do with the practice? Don't assume anything. What do you do with the practice? What's prompting your interest in our products or services? Now you could get very specific here. What sort of challenges or frustrations are you having with regard to? Or what are your goals with regard to this or that? Or what are things that as a team you're trying to improve in either your patient care or your practice management? Very specific questions there. How are you familiar with us? What do you know about our products, services? Great questions, right? And you might say people won't answer a lot of questions. Au contraire, yes, they will when the questions are about them. Remember, everybody's most important topic in the world is not you, it's not me, it's not my products or services, it's themselves. And when you spend the first 2 or 3 minutes of the interaction seeking to understand who are you with, why are they here, and what do you need to do with them, now you know where you're going. So mistake number 5, we're halfway there. Too much time with the wrong type of visitors. Essentially, there are 3 types of people that are gonna walk into your booth at a show. The first type is what you call the casual visitor. The casual visitor has no real interest in your product service. They're at your booth for another reason. If you have a candy bowl, a popcorn machine, tchotchkes, you're probably drawing your fair share of casual visitors. What do you do with a casual visitor? Question for interest, number one. Number two, ask if they came to the show with a group. Sometimes they might be here with a group. Maybe it's not them. Maybe they're here with somebody. And if there's no legitimate interest, disengage, okay? Hey, thanks so much for stopping. Feel free to take a look around. Second type of visitor, the information seeker. This person will self-identify. They will walk up and into your booth. They will come up to somebody, maybe you, and they will start asking questions, okay? Here's the thing, be careful. My rule of thumb is I don't tell people much of anything until I know who I'm with and why they're here. So what do you do with the information seeker? You have two options. One, question the question. They say, well, tell me about your practice management software. I might be, do you have all day? Like, no, I don't. Go back to the meet. Hey, I'm Jefferson, and you are. Tell me a little bit about your practice and what you do with the practice. And what's prompting your interest so I can share the right information. Question the question, okay, with information seekers. And give them a little bit of information and then guide them on where to learn more. The solution seeker, the buyer, when you ask, what brings you by? I noticed you were looking at. Tell me about your interest. They will self-reveal. What is your job with the solution seeker? Identify and meet their information needs. Do that well, and you're going to have a lead or ultimately a sale. Okay, so here's the thing. In the first 60 to 90 seconds of the interaction, each person you're talking to, you should be able to pause in your mind and go, who am I with? Is this casual? Is this an information seeker? Is this a solution seeker? Okay. Number 6, there's so much stuff you could tell people about your product services. Me too. I could go on all day, right? But here's the thing. I got a 3 to 7 minute interaction. Here's the thing. I've got a visitor that is at information overload. The question I need to be asking myself is, of all the stuff that I could tell someone, what should I tell them that's going to help them go, oh, this is awesome. I've got to know more. So do not assume that you know what the visitor wants to need or know. So there's 2 things that we want to ask about. Okay, attendees are more knowledgeable. They're going on the internet, they're visiting websites, they're coming to the shows prepared. Do not waste this short window of opportunity you have telling them stuff they already know. So the first thing I always want to do before I talk about my products is, what do you know about, or how are you familiar with our dental product services solutions? What am I listening for here? I'm listening for what they don't say, right? Because that's the knowledge, the information gap that I'm going to try to fill, okay? Second, get them to reveal their hot buttons, okay? So the way I like to do that, hey, Amy, there are so many things that I could tell you about my services, but let me ask you, when you consider or evaluate this type of a product or service, what are the 2 or 3 things that you most want to know? Not only will this tell you exactly what you need to talk to, but listen carefully, it's a qualifier too. It's a deeper qualifying question. If they can't answer the question, that's telling you a lot too, right? So before you start talking, identify familiarity and try to get the visitor to voice their evaluation criteria. What is it that they want or need to know or learn in this 3 to 7 minute interaction we have together? Okay. Number 7, clustering messages together, dumping a lot of information on them. Remember, we said they're at information overload. Okay. The strategy: 1 point at a time, 1 message at a time, and get feedback on that message. So the fix to this mistake is to take whatever products or services you're featuring in the booth and start by asking yourself, what are the needs that a customer would have that this product or service delivers? What are the needs? Okay, start there. And then see, when you come up with the needs, now you can create situational questions to get them to voice the need. Okay, then, okay, I'm going to give you an example of how I would do this. Okay, there's many reasons why people would hire me as a consultant trainer. They're spending a lot of money, they're not getting ROI at the show. So I might ask questions like this. Well, tell me, Mary, just in ballpark numbers, how much do you think you're spending on shows right now? They go, oh, it's probably about $100,000. Whoa, $100,000. Wow. Let me ask you, on a 1 to 10, a 10 you're thrilled, a 1 you're disgusted, how happy are you with the value and the ROI you're getting from that spend? He says, man, we're struggling. We're not getting good. Boom, there it is. I found my need. I know what I'm going to speak back to. So now I'm going to tie back to the need. I'm going to say, you know, you told me, Mary, that you're spending a lot of money and you're not happy with the results you're getting. You know, one of the services that I think would be of great value to you would be exhibit staff training. And one of the cool things about it is that we help your team create a custom visitor interaction process, right? And so what this will mean to them and you is better, they'll be able to better manage the interactions. They'll get higher quality leads. Okay, so let me pause for a moment here. Amateurs do what we call feature dump. Right here, amateurs will just, hey, let me tell you all about my training, blah, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, and their brains are just completely shutting down. Professionals always link feature and benefit. Here's what I'm telling you, here's what it means to you. The transition is which means. One of the cool things about our training is that your participants will create a personalized visitor interaction process. And this means they'll be able to better manage interactions so you get higher quality leads and are positioned for better ROI. Here's what the master does. Listen carefully. The feedback question. I made one direct message here. This is a 60-second message. I want to get the visitor to visually and verbally respond to this message. I'm going to ask, so when you think about exhibiting ROI, how important do you feel the quality of the leads you're capturing is in your ability to get ROI? Open-ended question to get the visitor to respond. So I have a challenge for you. I would like you to take whatever product or service you're featuring, and I would like you to identify the top 3 needs that it serves. I would like you to script out 60-second messages for your product. In fact, I'm going to throw out a very unique offer here. And I'm only going to do it for the first 3 companies who are serious about winning at trade shows. If you will script out, take a swing at your 60-second messages and email them to me, I will review them, no cost, no sales pitch, and I'll give you feedback on them. So you can email me at jefferson@tradeshowturnaround.com. First 3 companies that do that, you essentially have me reviewing your content at no charge, right? All right, let's keep rolling. 2 more. So we've covered 7 mistakes and we've given a fix for every mistake. Here's number 8. Scanning the badge too early. Going for the badge too early, right? Okay. Here's the thing. Most people, the majority of people are pretty nice people, right? And they'll say, well, if I can scan your badge, we'll send you information. No, you can't scan my badge. Not too many people are going to do that, right? Well, okay, but it doesn't mean there's legitimate interest, right? There's a lot of assuming going on there, okay? Scanning the badge early also signals the end of the interaction. When should you scan the badge? When you've confirmed that there's interest. So that's why you're asking good front end seek to understand questions. You're asking familiarity and evaluation questions. You're speaking back to that. And if you're using my 60-second, the feedback question is the trigger as to when to go for it, okay? So let's do a quick poll here. Speaking of lead management, let me find my poll. Here it is. I'm going to launch this poll live right now. Fastest fingers, I want you to look at the radio dial button that applies, and I want you to click whichever one applies to you. The poll is live. How do you capture leads in your booth? Are you collecting business cards? Do you have a paper lead form? Are you kind of doing V cards on the phone, or maybe doing something with your phone? Are you renting the lead retrieval system? Do you own your own universal lead capture system? What are you doing? I will give you just a moment. At this point, 40% of you have polled. If you have not polled, I'm looking for 100% poll. Everybody look up fastest fingers, click the radio dial button that applies. We're at 40%. Some of you have not polled. Go ahead and put it in, because we're going to talk a little bit about this, okay? And this is a really important topic, okay? Because what's changing at trade shows, especially dental shows, is, you know, I was there in the heyday when, man, we were writing so much business on the show floor. But that's changed, right? So if you're going into the show thinking that it's only and all about writing orders on the show floor, you're operating on a model that's 10 to 15 years outdated, right? Everything has changed. There are dental buying groups. People are taking more time to purchase. If you have a complex sale, multiple steps, okay? We're at 60%. A couple of you have not polled yet. I'm looking through the camera. I can see you. I'm going to give you one more second. I'm going to count you down. If you have not polled, let's do it. On 3, 2, 1. I'm going to share the results now. Here we go. Close the poll and share the results. There we go. Okay. Let's talk about these for a moment. 17% of you collect business cards, paper business cards. There's a problem with that. A lot of people ain't carrying them anymore, right? What do you do then? If they don't have a business card, what do you do, right? That's the first generation of lead capture. That's how it used to be, right? Nowadays, I'm amazed at how many people are no longer carrying cards. I'm old school, I still carry them, but a lot of people don't. You're dead in the water if you're relying on it. Using a paper lead form, that's better than just trying to get a card, but what's the problem with the paper lead form? Somebody's got to write or capture the information, legibility of writing. You've got to be able to somehow move the data on the paper form into your CRM. So it puts a lot more legs in the process. Number 3, capturing information on the cell phone. Like a V card. That's okay, but it doesn't have demographic information. It doesn't have qualifying information. You're going to have to figure out a way to get all that. Number 4, renting the lead retrieval system. 17% of you. And number 5, owning a universal lead capture system. Okay, I recommend today all exhibitors have electronic lead capture, okay, for many reasons. Number 1, the ability to quickly capture the visitor's information. Number 2, listen carefully, the ability to upload your content, your PDFs, your literature, and instantly follow up with the visitor. First responders win the majority of deals in lead management. First responders win the majority of deals. The ability to instantly respond. And here's another reason I want you to think about. So I walk into your booth, we meet, you're a pretty cool guy or gal. I like what your company's doing, your product services. I go, yeah, you know, this sounds pretty good. I would like to get some information. Here, can you scan my badge? And you go, sorry, I can't scan your badge. Pause. I want you to stop right there as a moment of truth. What might be going on in the visitor's mind? They might go, seems like most other people can. I wonder why you can't. Remember what I said about never sending the impression of that maybe, you know, you're either behind the times or you're financially. And I know there's a investment in lead retrieval. There's a little bit of a cost around it, but I'm going to tell you empirically, of all the things that you will spend. Remember on the chart? To me, this is almost a must do for all the reasons that I mentioned. Okay, so let's talk about for a moment here the official show lead retrieval system. Okay, it is eConnection by 11th and Gather. There's a QR code here. You have two ways to do this. There is a Apple device rental where you're essentially getting a mini iPad with the QConnect app preloaded, okay? And there's a app that you can download to Google Play and you can download to your phones. Very affordable. $290 for the app before the deadline, $320 for the device. Absolutely worth it. Now, the good news is, there's a QR code there. The early bird is August 25. So hold on, because somebody on this webinar is going to get a free app as a result of being on today's webinar. And you'll get an email from Amy or Suzanne, if not tomorrow, Friday, probably Monday. So we're going to pick one winner at random, and maybe it'll be you. But here's my message to all of you. Make the investment. If you're going to play the game, play to win. Okay, it has real-time reporting, it's customizable, and it's easy to use. Okay, so very important, very smart play. All right, let's go number 9 and our last two and wind this down. Not capturing more information than just what is embedded in the badge. Here's the way I think about it. I may never have this chance again. I may never be standing face to face with this person ever again. I am not going to squander this opportunity. I'm going to get as much information as I can get. So you're going to want to talk with the lead retrieval and the show management and ask what information is embedded in the badge when I scan it. What do I get standardly? And then you are going to want to ask what additional information would be useful for us to capture. So talk to your sales team. If you're working through dealers, distributors, talk to them. Ask what information, if we could give you about a contact, would help you value the lead more so you follow up on the lead fast and furious, right? Okay, you can see there's some potential areas. And then customize your qualifiers. Build custom qualifiers into the app, okay? And finally, train your staff on guiding the conversation with questions and using the capture device before they hit the show floor, okay? Because if they don't use it prior, they're not going to use it effectively when they're standing with a visitor. All right, final point, mistake number 10. This is probably one of the greatest insights I've ever uncovered in 34 years. The difference between 5% of leads converting and 25 to 40% of leads converting. Here it is. The mistake is not discussing and the next step and or getting agreement from the visitor to take that step. 9 out of 10 booth staffers fail at this, okay? So a close in the booth is the visitor going, this is awesome. I have got to know more. Where does more happen? When does more happen? With who does more happen, right? It's getting the visitor to commit to that next step. And that's why it's so important that you have a way to gauge visitor feedback with all the techniques I've shown you. Okay, and then you think about who the visitor is, what's the relationship with your company, where are you in the sales cycle with them, and what is the next logical step. Now, let me give you the technique for getting the visitor to collaborate and commit, okay? It's a 2-step. So the first thing you want to do after they've responded positively, so you might say something like, hey, Suzanne, let me ask you, based on what you've learned so far, does this sound like it might be worth learning more about, taking a closer look at? Work for your situation, whatever feels right for you. This is my reconfirming. If the visitor's like fully engaged, they're like, yeah, dude, this is awesome. I can't believe we're not doing this in our practice. Call the next step, right? They're fully engaged. If there's any hesitancy or they're like, yeah, it sounds okay, get the visitor to collaborate on the next step. And here's what you say. what do you think our next step should be? How can we help you and your dental team and your dentists and your practice managers? How can we help you best understand if this is a good fit for you? If the visitor collaborates on what happens next, their commitment to that action is stronger. And that's what you're going for. You want to know what defines a great lead? Information rich, clear, committed next action. You give me 50 of those, I'm converting 15 to 30 of those to business. You give me 100. Well, if I can scan your badge, I'll send you some information. I'll be lucky to convert 5. How do you want to play this game? Hard way, easy way? I want to play easy way. All right, that's what I've got for you today. We are at the top of the hour. If you have any questions on any of this content, right now would be a good time to fire away with your questions. Go to your question tab and type them in. If not, be sure you go to the Exhibitor Success and ROI Center. There's gold in them dark pages here. Go there. And finally, it's not what you heard today that's going to make a difference. It's going to come down to what you do. So my closing wish for you, get control over your spending. Find ways to save and stretch your dollar. Invest a little more into the 3 leverage areas, number 1. Number 2, watch this webinar with your sales team, right? Work on your question flow. Work on your 60-second messages. Remember, 3 people send me your 60-second messages. I'll review them, no cost, give you feedback. So it's not what you heard. It's going to be what you do. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge intelligently applied toward a defined outcome, that's power. And that's what I want for you. Find at least 3 ideas you're going to implement. And if you will, right, I can begin to close this. Let's see, I've got a question coming in here. Jacob said, thank you for the time. He's definitely going to have his team watch that. I've got another question. How many people should we have in our booth? Staffing rule of thumb is 50 square feet per staffer. If you're in a 10 by 10 booth, 2, maybe 3. Got another question here on branded staff apparel. What are your thoughts on branded staff apparel? I think it's a great idea. It immediately identifies your team as a booth staffer. It reinforces your brand identity, and it carries your brand around the convention center as you move around. Okay? So good questions. Thank you for those. I want to thank Suzanne, Amy, everyone. They care. They've got your back here, but you got to do your part. You showed up. All of you showed up. So complete the survey. Watch your email. On Monday, we'll be announcing who won the free lead retrieval, and go to work. You're 2 months away from the show. You're right in the sweet spot. Have a great rest of your day. I've enjoyed being with you. Look forward to hearing about your success. Take care.